Coming up, we will have the latest on the mass shooting in Virginia Beach that has so far claimed the lives of at least a dozen people. And the body of a missing Mingo County man was found this weekend. We'll tell you what we know about how he died. And a Connecticut couple is facing charges in relation to a woman who went missing last week in the middle of a heated divorce battle.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning and happy Monday to you. The time is about 6:30. Let's check in with Brandon Robinson for a look at your cooler forecast this morning. Brandon, good morning.
Good morning, Connor. And things are cooler for sure this morning. Some spots in the mid-50s across the region. Let's take a look across the region this morning on the cameras. We see Buffalo Mountain, the sun on the way up. A little breezy out there. Winds coming in from out of the north. So that might make it feel a bit cooler this morning, but not much in the way of cloud cover. Some fog over downtown Whitesburg this morning. So again, just be careful as you head out. Some dense fog there in the Cumberland Valley, Harlan specifically there on the airport sensor. So again, some of those areas in the valleys may be a little bit fogged over this morning. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s area-wide. We're not seeing a whole lot of 60s yet, just 4 left across the region. London, Monticello, Middlesboro, all at 60. Jacksboro at 64 across the state and region. 61 Paducah, 61 Bowling Green, 55 in Lexington, 49 cooler up towards Cincinnati, 61 in the Tri-Cities, and 58 in Charleston, West Virginia. 12-hour planner, lots of sunshine, warming up today, but not a whole lot of warmth. Only 73 for a daytime high. I'll talk about the rest of the forecast coming up here in just a few minutes. Connor?
Virginia Beach remains a city in mourning today, 3 days after a gunman shot and killed 12 people inside a municipal building. Katherine Johnson reports from Virginia Beach.
The victims of the Virginia Beach shooting were remembered during vigils at a pair of local churches on Sunday.
They thought that it would just be another day.
The dead include 11 city employees and a local contractor who was applying for a permit.
I felt something, a presence behind me, and I turned around and there Dwayne was.
Survivors described their encounters with the gunman, a longtime colleague named Dwayne Craddock.
Looked straight in my face, and he did not see me standing there, because he didn't raise the gun.
The only reason I can think that he did not shoot me or didn't aim at me is because he and I used to walk in from the parking lot together in the morning.
Craddock died after being wounded during a shootout with police. More than 48 hours later, investigators are still stumped as to what his motive was. Hours before the shooting, he emailed a resignation note to a manager. The 40-year-old had worked for the city for about 15 years and had a clean record.
He was in good standing within his department, and that there were no issues of discipline ongoing.
Police say Craddock legally owned the 2 handguns used in the attack. Katherine Johnson, CBS News, Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach city offices will remain closed today but are expected to reopen tomorrow. The city is trying to raise money to help offset the victims' funeral costs. And to honor the victims of Friday's shooting in Virginia Beach, both the American and state flags are lowered to half staff. The White House lowered their flag to half staff on Saturday, and Governor Matt Bevin ordered flags to be lowered at public offices and is asking businesses and individuals to join in lowering their flags. The flags will stay at half-mast until sunset tomorrow. Meanwhile, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin weighed in on the shooting yesterday on CBS's Face the Nation. He told host Margaret Brennan that something has to change when it comes to gun laws.
Here's the thing, we couldn't even get the most common sense. Legitimate gun owners, law-abiding gun owners understand we're not afraid to have background checks, and we're not going to do anything wrong with our guns, but there should be a balance of how you basically prevent people in commercial settings from not getting a gun when you don't know who they are and what their background is. We couldn't even get that done, Margaret.
And troopers say the body of a missing Mingo County man was found on Saturday. 71-year-old Jimmy Murphy had been missing from the Matewan area since Wednesday. He was last seen setting off on a 4-wheeler ride. Troopers say his body was found in the Sprigg area late Saturday morning. His body was taken to the state medical examiner's office in Charleston for an autopsy to determine the cause of death. And a Connecticut couple is being held on a $500,000 bond over the case of Jennifer Dulos, who has been missing for more than a week. The Connecticut mother of 5 was last seen May 24th while dropping her kids off at school. Later that night, her empty SUV was found near a park. People in the community say they are heartbroken with the disappearance.
I know not everyone here this evening knows Jennifer, but those of us who do know her as an incredibly warm person.
As the search for a missing mom enters day 10, questions are mounting over her estranged husband, Fotis Dulos, and his girlfriend, Michelle Troconis. In connection with the investigation, both are expected in court today after being arrested and charged with fabricating or tampering with evidence in the case. Dulos and her husband were reportedly locked in a bitter divorce and custody fight. In divorce papers, Jennifer Dulos had accused her husband of indefinitely cruelty and threatening to kidnap the children and take them to Greece. He denied those allegations. Switching over to political news, Vice President Mike Pence said he doesn't know why there would be a base for Congress to pursue impeachment against President Trump. Growing numbers of Democrats in Congress are calling for impeachment proceedings to begin, arguing with the special counsel investigation demonstrated President Trump committed impeachable offenses. But on Sunday, Pence said the issues regarding the former FBI Director Robert Mueller investigation are, quote, entirely over. Pence also said that the administration gave, quote, full cooperation into the investigation, despite the president's refusal to submit an in-person interview with the special counsel. And the North Korean top nuclear envoy of the U.S. appears on state media after reports of his detention in a hard labor camp. A state newspaper published a photograph showing what appeared to be Kim Yong-chol at the art performance with the country's leader Kim Jong-un and other high-ranking officials on Sunday. The individual identified as Kim had his hands over part of his face. In other international news, China's defense minister commented on the U.S.-China trade war this week, saying if U.S. wants to fight, quote, we will fight until the end. That came during his speech at the Sri Lanka Security Summit in Singapore. Here is the full soundbite of what he had to say.
As for the recent trade friction started by the U.S., if the U.S. wants to talk, we will keep the door open. If they want to fight, we will fight till the end.
The U.S. has not responded to the comments as of this morning. And in other political news, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo met with Swiss officials on Sunday during his tour through Europe. Earlier in the week, Pompeo met with the German Chancellor Angela Merkel to discuss tensions between the United States and Iran. Now moving back here to the mountains, West Virginia Senate Republicans have proposed a ban on teacher strikes. State Senate leaders released a proposed education bill called the Student Success Act during their special session on Sunday. Senator Charles Trump sponsored the amendment, saying it's meant to keep schools running and not as retaliation for recent teacher walkouts. Meanwhile, Democrats argue that teachers have the right to protest. Lawmakers will return later today for further discussion on the bill. And it's now up to the University of Kentucky whether or not they will be allowed to serve alcohol at sporting events. Last week, the Southeastern Conference announced it would let the universities decide instead of standing policy banning alcohol sales throughout the SEC. According to Inside Higher Ed, Ohio State and West Virginia reportedly saw a decline in ejections and security problems after allowing alcohol. But a study from the University of Colorado at Boulder showed incidents dropped after banning alcohol sales. The president of the Lexington Legends says it's all about training the staff.
The more that we can train them, familiarize them, make sure that they're vigilant and responsible, the better for everyone.
UK has not decided if they will allow alcohol sales. The university's president said Friday that they would take a few months to come to a decision. If Kentucky goes forward with alcohol sales, there will still be some restrictions. Now let's check in with Brandon for a look at your forecast. Brandon?
Forecast this morning over McKee, still a bit foggy, so be careful if you're traveling in some areas early. We take a look at UVA-wise this morning, and we're going to see again, not a cloud cover this morning. They had the last bit of rain, so a little bit of cloud cover is possible. But most of the day, we're going to see lots of sunshine. Some fog in southwest Virginia and over Harlem this morning on the sensors anyway. We're going to continue to watch that as we head out the door. Temperatures in the 50s and 60s. Very few 60s hanging on. A couple down toward London, Monticello, Middlesboro, and Jacksboro, but look at Moorhead down to 52 now, so temperatures continue to fall. Out the door forecast for you today. Temperatures will climb, but only into the low 70s, maybe some mid 70s for daytime highs with lots of sunshine. A much cooler day as we start June here, the first full week. Connor?
All right, thanks, Brandon. We will have stories trending on WYMT.com next. Thanks for joining us on Mountain News this morning. And coming up, some exciting news about something going on today that some foodies will be sure to enjoy.